Welcome back to the People of Penn State podcast. I'm Katie Farnan from the Alumni Association, and today I'm joined by another Katie, Katie Collins, who graduated in 2000 with a degree in health policy and administration. She's the co-founder of both ECM Therapeutics, a regenerative medicine company, and Abigail Collins, a women's collegiate wear brand. Katie, welcome to the podcast. Katie, thank you so much for joining us today. Let's start from the beginning. Why did you choose to come to Penn State?
Well, thank you so much for having me. This has been a thrill to actually prepare for because it gave me a chance to do memory lane and think about some of these questions that you've asked in the past on your incredible podcast. Well, I actually was very fortunate. I was recruited by Coach Krimmel, Bob Krimmel, back in the day. I started in '96, so about in '95 I guess 90. Into my junior year, end of junior year, into senior year of high school, I was given the opportunity to come out to Penn State on a recruiting trip. And after the recruiting trip, I knew I think I've heard some of your other podcast athletes. You just kind of know once you go to Penn State and visit and see the culture and meet the team, meet the program. It was the place for me. So that's how I ended up at Penn State.
So tell us a little bit about your experiences, especially as a student athlete, because you have a little bit of a unique perspective as a student in that role.
Yeah. So, I think it's a challenge. I think as a student athlete, you have another class. I mean, I swam the distance. So I did the mile, and I always joked I was in the water before everybody and out of the water after everybody. So, you have several hours of practice twice a day for swimming. And so you had to really kind of coordinate that around studies. And, to be honest, I wasn't, the stellar student, but I got by. And there's a lot of really great things that come of being a student athlete that, you have like this immediate family, immediate group of friends. I used to joke, when did you join a sorority? I'd call it the Swim with Kappa Goggle sorority. And I think as I look back, and this will go into, I'd like to talk about a nonprofit that I've been helping and join the board of recently as Teammates for Life, is to, as a student athlete, there's different challenges, and it's not just juggling school and workouts, but how do you, when you leave school, who are you, right, after sport? So I look back very fondly on that experience.
And you probably learned how to balance things pretty quickly, right? You're kind of just thrown into it. So that prepared you for the real world, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what they say, right? You get time management skills, your teamwork, your hardworking, I think what they have like a statistic that student athletes are, well recruited because of those skill sets that you gain for years and years and years of being in sport. So
those lessons outside the classroom are just as important.
Absolutely. Yes.
So where did you land after you graduated?
So I followed a relationship after, I went home first and then followed a relationship from Penn State to San Diego. And so not a bad place to land. But I didn't have a job. So I didn't have a resume because I swam. And so it was, I don't know if you've heard of this, but temporary, assignments, which is called a temp. And you go in, you take a typing test, and you take a note-taking test, and you get assigned a role where someone may need some temporary help at an office space. And I was fortunate to get a temp job in the Human Resources Office of the Scripps Research Institute. And so landed in San Diego and soon had a temporary job that turned permanent because the gal that I was filling in for decided not to come back from maternity leave. So that started my career in medical research, and but on the business side, obviously, I'm not a scientist and didn't have that skill set. But so I landed and quickly figured out. Well, I was fortunate to have a pathway to get into medical research, and then that's ended up where I ended up growing a career out of.
So let's talk about ECM Technologies. You founded this company. Tell us a little bit about what you do there, and your role.
Yeah. So Building on my experience at the Scripps Research Institute, I was there for 10 years. I got to really familiarize myself with the challenges of medical research and the funding challenges of medical research. So I ended up, I guess I love talking to people, I love networking. So I fell in love with the idea of fundraising and wanting to support the scientists that were working so hard to solve, all the, the diseases that ail us all. And so I got into fundraising, and it led me to meet a lot of really interesting people. I'm very excited. I mean, I've just had great stories with these really fascinating, game-changing minds that I was able to cross paths with. And one of them was a scientist called Steve Badalak, and he was out of the University of Pittsburgh. And he's a pioneer in regenerative medicine. And I got introduced to him, and we quickly started talking about, what's next for him, what's next for this technology. It seems like, this is be great to get it into human. And so as it being in the university, there's a lot to unpack to get it out of the university and to market. And I was in a place where, I'm ready. I want to take on a challenge. And I always said this, I'd like to be on the other side of the table and not asking for money. So this seemed like a great opportunity for me to kind of high risk, high reward, put some time in and see where it goes. And so I'm very excited to share that, it's been probably 8 or 9 years since inception, but 7 years incorporated in Pittsburgh. We have entered human trials, and so far so good. We've been able to heal. It's a tissue regenerating hydrogel. Is one of our first products, and without getting into too much of the weeds of the science, but it allows your own body to heal, and it literally calls your own body's stem cells and your body's immune system and kickstarts it and helps it heal. So we have entered into clinical trials, and we've treated 5 patients for what is not really it's a horrible condition, and it's only humans have this, and it's an anorectal fistula, and it's caused by an abscess, and it's very hard to heal, and it's a very infected area. And so we inserted our hydrogel, and we've been able to heal those tracks quickly, and so we're very excited, and we have 20 more patients. So far so good. And my role, just to answer your question, is as business development. So I like to connect and network, as I told you. And so I try to position and package our science and our technology and get it in front of the right people. We're obviously looking for licensees and folks that can take our technology, scale it, and get it into humans and get it into sales teams, which would be kind of a device company or a pharma company. And so I network with those business development representatives and introduce our technology and take conversations from there.
That has to be really exciting, rewarding work to see, the science just work. I mean, like it's just all of a sudden, and even if you're not the scientist, to see it from the business side and getting those people involved and like, this is working, come with us along this journey.
Yeah. I have to say, Katie, it's only been the last 2 weeks that this has been happening. So it's been very rewarding. And even, in just to help these patients in this small way, I mean, these tracks are open 6 to 12 weeks, and it's very painful, and it's hard to live, and to give them that lifestyle and give them back their, their day to day. I'm very happy to be part of it. And it's, you don't know until you know, right? You don't know if this is going to work until you get into human. It may work work great in animals, but it's, it has to get to the human. And that's where things start to get exciting and things start to happen. And so my role's kicked into gear right now to package this and continue. Obviously we need to continue the studies and get it all buttoned up, but it's a good sign so far.
So your day-to-day is probably very busy, but then you decided to start a clothing company. So tell us a little bit about how Abigail Collins came about.
My husband and I, we got married about 4 years ago. We didn't have kiddos. And so I love solving problems, and I was thinking about this forever. I remember going to look at my goal sheet. Every year I do goals, And I think that's probably being an athlete, right? So, and I said I wanted to start a clothing company back in 2019. And it's been on my mind. In fact, I've talked to my sister about it over years, how would we just get basics, and instead of, just a clothing line for the masses, I have been really passionate about and frustrated, and not in like a negative way, but just in a, hey, I would love to have something to show off my Penn State pride that isn't bedazzled. I mean, I don't mind a bedazzle here and there, but isn't a crop top, isn't a hoodie, and isn't a polo, like polos. And I don't think women should wear polos. I mean, we're just not built for a polo. So I met this serendipitously. I met this incredible fashion designer who is my neighbor's daughter. And I thought it was a sign, and I was like, oh, she's so great. She's wanting to get into this, and she's out in LA. She has access to all the different, manufacturing. So we launched end of September 2024. My husband was very supportive. Obviously, we bootstrapped it for up until now, and we are looking at, and we're trying to expand to other schools. But we spent the last 2 falls, so 24 and 25 still, really understanding what the desires are, what are we looking for as a alumna, and how do you best sell, and how do we get traction? And so it's been a really exciting journey, and I've learned a ton. And I think that it's really great to take Penn State, and Penn State has been, I have to major shout out to Stephanie in the licensing department, because I don't know anything about licensing anything. And so she's been, and her team have been so supportive and so thoughtfully guiding me through the process that, it's been great. And it's also perfect timing that we have the first female president, who obviously is also looking for something that isn't a hoodie to wear for press conferences. And so I keep her in mind when we design clothes. What would Neely need to, how could she wear this? And so, it's been a journey. And you're right. Probably should have waited a little longer to start the company, but I jumped in. I thought it was a sign, and I feel it was a good time to do it. And we're still building. So, that's where we are.
Definitely an untapped market, because I think once you graduate college, you can't really pull off the crop tops anymore, and it's hard to go into the workplace and have, Penn State pride. So I think you're onto something there with that.
Yeah, and to add to that, just a bit, I travel a lot. I go back up to Pittsburgh. I go out to California. I do see a lot of men fist pumping and screaming "we are" at each other because they're wearing a hat, or they're wearing. If I wear a hat, I'm wearing a hat for the day, and I've ruined my hair, right? I can't wear a hat, right? And then, they're the polos and the t-shirts. I don't really wear a t-shirt, and I don't wear polos. So I'm like, I'm Penn State too. Hi, and so I felt that there's this organic network of people that we don't, women alumni. I don't know why I say that, but it's alumni, but like female alumni that don't get access to that community. Like, go to the grocery store, if I'm wearing my Penn State sweatshirt, I do hear like a "we are," but as we network, as we build our careers, as we, look for the next client, the next job, we are the world's largest alumni network, right? And so how do we access that in an organic way? And I think there is, there's definitely a white space, and it's not just for Penn State. It's for every university school, because, there hasn't really been a focused female product. I mean, there's some really great sporty items, Lululemons, and the jean jackets. I mean, there's some cute things out there, but from a business standpoint, going to happy hour, or going to a board meeting, you want to show off your pride, or there's not much out there. So so I'm excited about continuing to build that capsule collection. And I had to learn that. Abby has been teaching me so much about, how this is my favorite. It's the white button down, and it goes so well with the varsity sweater, or it also goes well now with our blazer. And so you can wear multiple pieces together as a capsule. So we're excited to build that. And, we're also looking for partners. So throwing that out there, if there's anybody who wants to get involved or grow this with us and have fun with it, we're really excited to add more to the team and build it out. And we'd love to hear from you. So.
And one of the goals with the brand is that you kind of want to help women strengthen their alumni networks and
Yeah.
be able to connect with each other and strengthen their connections. So, how do you see that happening in the future through this brand?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Thank you. No, it's really about building the community, and that goes to the Teammates for Life as well. I mean, it's I smile because it's really reconnected me back to Penn State. And I've been in California, I've been growing these businesses, I've been head down for quite some time. And as we ventured into this and we started doing little pop-ups and meetings and events back at Penn State, my Abby and my husband are like, you glow when you're here, and I think to all the Penn Staters listening, they get it. Like it's a special place. It's a special time of our life. We have this shared experience. It's the perfect breeding ground for building out a community. I mean, there's not one Penn Stater that I've talked to that I didn't immediately befriend. It's that shared experience that creates that loyalty to our school. And I think we've already started the community. We have a growing alumni email list, and we have pop-ups and trunk shows that we're wanting to host that we've had a lot of. It's a great reason to get all the Penn Staters together, and everyone's excited about doing that because it's what you want to do anyway. And so I think it's a natural community builder. It's a natural attractor. I also think, segueing to how I got involved with Teammates for Life is very much a similar thing. And I got introduced to that by a fellow swim team member, Ariane Adams, and she got involved at one of the events. And so Teammates for Life is to connect all the student athletes with former alumni so that they can, be mentored, ask questions. Alumni get invited back to give, talks or panel interviews to help. There's challenges with being an athlete and moving into career. What does that look like? And then networking. How do you network? What's my LinkedIn supposed to look like? How nowadays, what's my resume supposed to look like with AI? And it's all about who you know. So I'm thrilled to be part of what Teammates for Life is offering to student athletes and trying to build out those connections. Again, and Abigail Collins, I've been very adamant about involving Abigail Collins because it's exactly what, it's in line with what our mission is, essentially, is building that community and supporting, fellow female alumni. And that's what TFL is all about.
So tell us a little bit more about your experience on the board for TFL and how our listeners can get involved.
Yeah. Well, I was just recently asked a couple months ago, and so it was a real honor to help be part of, it's been around for about 3 years, but it's just been growing and forming. And as you do, within a Penn State structure, you find your way, and it's certainly getting traction and getting very successful in attracting students to these sessions. So there's several different events that you can attend. You can attend events to network with other athletes, and there's events in New York. TFL, we try to do a lot of events in a lot of different areas, from Pittsburgh to Philly, to really give alumni access to, they don't have to go far. They don't have to come back to State College. They can go to, a nearby city. So we're growing those. We're growing student athlete events by connecting, some really incredible alumni, bringing them back to State College and bringing them to the students to share their story and share how they got to where they are, and plant those seeds in the students' minds about, career ideas, passions, and just how they handled challenges. And so those are really, I think, really great formative discussions because, these are formative years, and those are discussions that certainly plant the seeds that help you decide different paths you take. And getting involved, you can email me. You can email. Just email me, and then I can connect you. It's really about getting you connected with your team and your program. We support the teams and the programs, not just from mentoring and events, but we support financially if there's, we were looking at on the swimming side to put a new cover on the pool. And so there's just, there's little, little things like that would go a long way that, the alumni can rally behind and rally around and help out the team. So I think there's a lot of ways to be involved, from attending to events to contributing to the program to mentoring. But we have lots of ways. So
we've talked a lot about networking and strengthening your Penn State connections. Can you tell us how that has helped you throughout your career, and any advice you would have for students or soon-to-be alumni who are kind of entering that networking stage in life?
Yeah, I would be very friendly with LinkedIn. I think I have to say, LinkedIn has become a really great tool, and because you can identify yourself as a Penn State alum, and I often look for Penn State alum at pharma and at device companies and introduce myself and tell them, what year I graduated, where I am, what I'm doing. Is there any way you can connect me with this person? And I get real specific with the ask, and my advice would be to always be specific with your asks. It's hard to know what you need if you don't ask for it. So you have to give them that direction. And I would say 90% of the time it works. And so I'm always there to help a fellow Penn Stater. I've had many conversations. I've had many introductions I've made. But yeah, no. And in fact, I help, I think other Penn Staters would do this too, but I would help if it's a recent grad trying to figure out how to make a connection. I'm happy to hop on a call and say, okay, here, before we connect, let's identify what's the goal of the call. How are you, positioning your ask? And, is this something that they can do, or is it an introduction that you need from them to someone else? And help them manage that versus just, hey, I would like to talk to them because I want to figure out what they know, let's dial that in a little. So no, I think, and I guess that would be my advice, just be very strategic with your asks, and so that way you can go back to them and say, hey, you introduced me to so and so, it was super helpful. How about this person? And you might, you may need that. So.
And you mentioned earlier you're very goal oriented. So I'm sure you have a lot of plans for both of your businesses. Tell us what's next for both ECM and for Abigail Collins.
Yeah, so I'm laser focused right now. ECM Therapeutics has really now become a opportunity for a lot of different pharmaceutical companies and device companies. We've really spent 7-8 years trying to get to where we are now, and so building out those partnerships and making those connections is what is really a big focus of mine. And at the same time, Abigail Collins is also a passion, and it's I can't wait to see where it goes. It's not as clear path because we are developing it as we go, and we're really trying to listen to our community as to what the desires are, and then we do have a plan to grow to more schools. And so as we build out the collection and identify our revenue, our sales lanes, we're excited to do that. We have licenses now for UNC Chapel Hill, Auburn, Michigan, and so we'll be expanding to them in the coming years. So yeah, and again, the partnerships on the clothing line are really incredibly important because that's how we expand. I don't have relationships at Auburn, and so as we grow, we'd love to build out these networks of. In fact, Abby had this great idea of creating interns, not interns, but students who are at these different schools, and we're cross-pollinating. So we'd have at the same meeting, Michigan, Auburn, UNC Chapel Hill, as an example, talking about what their schools, what are their alumni looking for, and how do they activate, and how do they, where do they buy, and what are the current trends, and what's the logo that everyone is really gravitating to nowadays, and what was the previous logo of the other years, because that's our market for alumni. So it's there's a lot to unpack, and there's a lot there, but I'm really looking forward to doing that.
Lots of exciting things. We're excited to see what comes out of all of this, but we'll probably still be sticking to just the Penn State merch, I think.
Yeah, well, you and I, yes.
Yeah. We won't tell. No. All right, well, we like to wrap things up with a quick lightning round of some Penn State related questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, your favorite Penn State creamery ice cream flavor?
Oh, Peachy Paterno.
Good choice. Your favorite spot on campus?
You know what? I liked Irvine's. That was one of my favorite. I ate a lot of pasta and a lot of carbs when I was as a swimmer. So
You
bagel
have
me at Irvine.
survival.
Yeah.
Your favorite class and or professor while you were a student?
You know what? Sociology. I have to say, it's the only one class that really came to mind because I thought, you know what I learned in that class? Groupthink. And I'll never forget it. It was like, what? And again, groupthink, for those, may not know about it, it's where one person plants a seed and others follow, and you're like, well, wait a second. How are you all saying yes? Well, one person made a case and everyone, oh, that sounds good. And that's groupthink. And I mean, I'm at a high level of that, but I love sociology. Sorry, next.
Your any other favorite local restaurants in State College?
The Tavern was always one that Mom and Dad would take me to because it was like the nice restaurant in town, which is still a very nice restaurant in town. I love what they've done to it. Yeah, and then obviously 210 as I got older and sat on the patio with my, Long Island iced teas that I can't believe I drank back then.
Nothing like a sunny day and a picture at cafe, right?
Yeah, with a picture at cafe and those red chairs that are still there. I cannot get over how
They sure are.
Red plastic chair that's still there.
They have survived a lot of experiences. They've seen it all.
So
and
true.
finally, your most treasured piece of Penn State merch.
Oh, well, I have to say the Abigail Collins white long sleeve button up. I'm wearing it. I wear it all the time. It's my go-to, and I wouldn't have a favorite merch if it wasn't Abigail Collins. So that's my favorite.
True. Duh.
Has to be.
Well, Katie, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing a little bit about all that you're doing and making a difference in the world for alumni, specifically the female alumni out there. We are so happy that we got to have this chat.
Thank you. And I appreciate, again, the opportunity to prepare for this because it really gave me a lot of time to think about the journey, and it's been a lot of fun. So thank you very much.
We love taking our alumni down memory lane, a little trip back to State College, right?
Love it. I loved it. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Katie for joining us today, and to all of our listeners, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Special thanks to our guest relations coordinator, Abigail Clark, and our graphic designer, Gabrielle Harris, for their work on this episode. For more stories on the amazing work our alumni are doing, check out the Penn State magazine. And for more information on the Alumni Association, visit alumni.psu.edu. We are